A shadow moves across the cliffs. Below, waves gnaw at black stone. No sails, no tools, no language. And yet across a churning sea, a group of early humans prepares to leave everything they've ever known, without boats, without maps, without knowing what lies beyond. Why would they risk it all? And how did they even survive? The wind howled low through the grasses of the coastal savanna, hissing like a warning. Australopithecus afarensis, small-browed and bare-footed, crouched behind a line of dried driftwood fingers thick with mud and salt. A matriarch, scarred, commanding eyes, keen as obsidian, crouched with her back to the ocean. Her clan was not hunting prey today. They were chasing a promise. On the horizon, a stretch of broken rocky islands, visible only when the sea breathed out. A bridge of sorts exposed by the tides. A chance to flee. For moons, the waters had swallowed the land with no pattern, but the matriarch had watched. She remembered. Every 18 sleeps the water pulled back. She had counted it with pebbles. Now the time had come. The land bridge was exposed again, bare glistening, littered with shell and bone. Behind them, a rival group, larger, more aggressive, had driven them from the forested ridges 2 nights ago, stealing fire and cracking bones as a warning. One of their own, a young male, was lost in that raid. They could not go back, and the only way forward was through the sea. The crossing would take hours. The little ones were bound to the backs of mothers with woven reeds. Food roots, dried marrow, and salted fish was carried in leaf-wrapped bundles tied with sinew. The strongest of them walked in front, feeling for sinkholes in the sand and sudden drops. The wind was still. The sky heavy with a deep purple cast. Something unseen stirred far out in the deep. The first 30 steps were slow, sloshing, uneasy. The water reached their knees, then hips. One slip meant drowning. They did not know how to swim. They only knew how not to die. Some used branches for balance. Others leaned on each other. The matriarch walked barefoot over sharp stone, bleeding. She did not look down. Halfway across, the sun vanished. Clouds gathered like predators above. Thunder cracked like the bones of the earth. Rain fell sideways, lashing skin and washing the scent of the clan into the sea. That was when they came, the slick, gliding shapes beneath the surface. Fins, fast, hungry. The children cried without sound, eyes wide. One male screamed a flash of red in the water and was gone. But still, they pushed forward. The matriarch did not turn back. She couldn't. The storm had arrived with a fury that tore the sky in half, but behind them was death, and ahead, perhaps, the narrow chance of life. Her knuckles gripped a splintered branch, now more a weapon than support. She motioned silently, raising her chin toward a jagged outcrop just visible ahead. A slab of rock, flat, black, and merciless. But it was land. Beside her, a juvenile stumbled, coughing brine, his bundle of roots lost to the waves. She pulled him by the arm, half dragging him across the slick reef as lightning clawed the clouds above. The sea behind churned white with movement. Shapes circled. Another scream cut short. A body vanished beneath. But then, a shriek of gulls. And through the curtain of rain, the outline of a mangrove tree. The matriarch collapsed on the rock chest, heaving. The survivors scrambled after her, some limping, some bloodied, all wide-eyed and silent. The youngest among them, drenched and shaking, clung to her side. No words were spoken. They had no words, but their faces etched with salt. Pain Kamshir told the story. A fire was impossible, so they pressed together for warmth. Bark was stripped from the tree, chewed for moisture. The elders used bone tools to pry limpets from the rocks. Night fell like a hammer. No stars, just breath hunger and the faint rustling of something in the trees. They had arrived, but they had not arrived alone. As dawn broke, a sharp hiss cut the silence. From the edge of the trees, yellow eyes watched low feline calculating. A leopard. It leapt. But the matriarch was faster. She had hunted before. With a snarl, she shoved the sharp end of her walking branch upward. The beast met it midair, pierced, twisted, shrieking in shock. Blood sprayed across stone. The clan erupted into motion shrieks, and strikes, hands beating the body back into the underbrush. It was over in seconds. Silence again, but, this time, relief. The matriarch stood bathed in rain and blood and raised her hands high, not as a symbol, as survival. And for the first time in many moons, the clan laughed. Above them, the sky cracked open sunlight spilling across this strange, hostile new land. And in the far distance, another ridge rose, forest-cloaked, filled with birdsong. This was not the end of the journey. It was only a crossing. But they had done it. Without boats, without tools, without a map. They had crossed the sea. They would come to call this place home, but not yet. Their feet were blistered, their bundles nearly empty, and the mangrove coast gave little shelter. The sun, though welcome, revealed the full toll, two lost in the crossing, one gravely wounded from the leopard's claws, and nearly all weakened by cold and hunger. The matriarch rose first, scanning the inland terrain. Her face betrayed no fear. Only motion could preserve them now. They moved inland with caution. The landscape was unfamiliar, thicker, wetter, louder. Roots tangled beneath their feet. Insects swarmed their wounds. But here life was abundant. Fruit unfamiliar to their tongues hung from crooked branches. Monkeys shrieked and scattered at their approach. A river curved like a serpent ahead, its muddy edge stamped with animal prints. Survival here meant learning quickly or dying slowly. But they were not alone. On the fourth day, as their youngest dug at the riverbank for tubers, a low growl rolled through the trees. Not an animal, not wind, a warning. Then a flurry of motion humanoids, another group. Not like them, taller, heavier brows. Australopithecus robustus, perhaps cousins, not kin. They came with stones in hand, bark-wrapped clubs, and shoulders painted with ash. Territorial. Silent. A standoff followed. No greeting, no aggression yet, but no trust. The matriarch raised both hands, slowly showing her palms. The rival group mirrored the gesture, but their leader stepped forward and sniffed the air, eyes narrowing at the smell of blood-salt foreign pollen. Outsiders. Intruders. A line had been crossed. That night, the clan did not sleep. They took turns watching. Stones were sharpened. Branches stripped for spears. Every crack of the forest set nerves on fire. The next morning, a child vanished. His body was found near the river, untouched by predator, but with bruises and a crushed windpipe. The message was clear. War would mean extinction. Flight meant weakness. So the matriarch chose something else: adaptation. She led her people upstream, away from the river's flow, deeper into a region the rivals seemed to avoid. It was harder terrain, steeper, thornier, home to snakes and damp winds, but it held promise. Bitter roots with healing oils, hollow trees for shelter, vines that could be woven into traps. Slowly they began to shape this unknown world into a place of survival. One evening, as dusk cloaked the trees, a loud snap echoed, followed by silence. A crude snare had caught something. The clan rushed forward. a warthog, young but fat. Enough meat for days. They circled the carcass in reverence. This wasn't just food, it was a turning point. Fire was sparked using quartz and dry lichen. Smoke curled into the air. The meat roasted slowly, its scent masking the fear that had haunted them since the sea crossing. The matriarch did not eat first. She handed the first piece to the eldest child, then the next to the wounded male, then to the mother who had lost her child. Only after all had eaten did she sit. Around that fire something shifted, not just in their bodies, but in their story. They had not only survived nature, but navigated conflict, outwitted predators, crossed a sea, and resisted violence with movement, memory, and patience. And they were still together. As the flames danced and shadows flickered across their faces, the clan huddled close, not from fear, but from something older belonging. They had crossed the sea without boats, outlived rivals without war, and carved life from chaos. And as the children fell asleep by the fire, the matriarch looked to the stars, uncharted, endless, and knew this was only the beginning. Survival had become legacy.